All right, ladies and gentlemen, with me up next is Mitan. He's part of the fascinating startup ecosystem. Tell me, where do we begin with you?
My father always said, become an accountant. So I became an accountant. I became a qualified accountant, started my journey with PwC. Then I started my spiritual journey with my wife, and that's where I mentioned to you before I met my wife. And it was understanding, let's take risk, let's do something different. So we got married, and I quit my job at PwC, and that's when I started my own food tech restaurant. Why food tech? For me, it was about that energy I like when you're going into a restaurant and serving people good food. But also, what's the worst that can happen? Back then, there was two decisions for me to make. Starting my own business, or potentially going down and starting and going for an MBA. I decided on starting the business. I think they both have their own merits, but for me, it was about the business. Had an amazing journey. Learned so much about myself, learned so much about the startup ecosystem. It was a vegetarian concept, and I think we were a bit too early for the curve.
Yeah.
When we were reaching out for venture capital to grow the brand, 9 out of 10 venture capital said, hey, if you add meat to the concept, only then will we invest, but I'm vegetarian. So I decided against 9 out of the 10 investments.
Okay. But you never know, things come in the right time, right?
For me, it's about having faith in the universe. And then close the business down. I went back into corporate, we had our first baby girl. And that's when I went to the Himalayas as part of the same spiritual organization to understand my purpose. Why am I on this earth? It's a 7-day course, reflecting on when you're in the moment, what are you passionate about, but also understanding what are the stuff internally that you've been building up, suppressing potentially. Subconsciously, which is what makes us have decisions and sometimes hinders us in our growth and acceleration. What came out of that experience for me, the statement was, I love helping startups grow. What does that mean? So when I came back from the Himalayas,
you shouldn't start your own, you should actually develop others.
Then, yes, but for me it was then working in the ecosystem for the bank. I was with NatWest Bank. So really reflecting and helping startups in the ecosystem come within the bank to innovate as part of the accelerator. And then that's when I was looking for an innovative role. So 3 years ago I moved to the region, and my main focus was to help startups and corporates build a bridge. And now I'm in a new chapter. Yes, and here we are speaking. But for me, it's about having that, we talked about before, when I'm helping a startup, whether it's through strategy, funding, or just making sure they understand their process, I feel in the present.
You feel like you're
this is what I was born in. Exactly.
Tell me one last question. If you could give some sort of, top 3 tips and pieces of advice to all those other aspiring entrepreneurs out there, apart from, never giving up, what would it be?
Every hour, take 2 minutes to breathe.
Without your phone, without anything?
Just breathe. Just close your eyes and breathe. Because then you're able to make a better, effective decision on the next hour or the vision. Because then you're able to really steady your heartbeat and steady yourself to tackle the next decision. I don't want to call it challenge, but the next decision, the next chapter.
Yeah. That's
so I have an alarm on my phone every hour. Breathe.
That's an interesting way of putting it. Well, thank you so much for today, honestly.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, and I would love to continue this conversation as well on our podcast one day. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.